Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. My name is Mazino Appeal. Our top stories tonight. President Bola Tinubu appoints new service chiefs, replaces Chief of Defense Staff amid rising insecurity in Nigeria. And moments after court grants him bail, alongside 12 others, police rearrests rights activist Omoyele Sowore. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer hosts President Zelensky as Ukraine allies pledge to take Russian oil and gas off global market.
And in business, Nigeria exits Greylist of Financial Action Task Force, marking a historic moment in its fight against financial crimes.
And in sports, Super Falcons of Nigeria defeated Benin 2-0 in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers that happened earlier today in Togo. And looking forward to the next leg on Tuesday.
Tonight begins now. Welcome again. Now we begin tonight with developments on national security and a major shake-up in Nigeria's defense structure. President Bola Tinubu has approved changes in the nation's military leadership. In a statement issued on Friday by Special Advisor to the President on Media and Public Communications, Olufemi Oluyede, has now been appointed the new Chief of Defense Staff, replacing Christopher Musa. Oluyede was until now the Army Chief. YD Shuaibu, a Major General, is the new Chief of Army Staff, while Sunday Aneke, an Air Vice Marshal, takes over as Air Chief. Chief of Defense Intelligence Major General EAP Udiende retains his position. According to the statement, the development is part of efforts by President Tinubu to strengthen the national security architecture. All appointments are with immediate effect. To discuss this and the implications, the military structure shake-up by the president, I'm now joined by Dr. Awal Aliyu, Deputy National Coordinator of Retired Members of Nigerian Armed Forces. Thank you very much, Dr. Aliyu, for joining us this evening. Unfortunately, I'm being told that we do not have our guest, but we will try to bring him on and have that conversation. Now, there was commotion earlier Friday at the Kuje Magistrate Court in Abuja over the dramatic rearrest of human rights activist Omoyele Sowore shortly after the court granted him bail. Now, eyewitnesses say police officers forcefully bundled Sowore into a van and whisked him away, claiming they had obtained a remand order, one his lawyers insist was never presented. The situation turned chaotic as officers arrested individuals recording the incident, dispersed petty traders, and even attempted to detain Showore's lawyer within the court premises. Rights activists, including Deji Adeyanju and counsel Maxwell Okpara, condemned the operation, describing it as a blatant violation of due process.
Made that woman's
table that sells food.
That sells food. You can go and see it.
It's very important. They took a lawyer away whom they claim was filming.
What do you make of the charges being leveled?
Frivolous. There is no basis for any of such charges at all. What we are just witnessing is a situation where the Nigerian police force, led by retired a man who has no business being in the police, is insisting on illegality. There is no way that you can criminalize protest. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, what would be the basis, the legal basis, if you say somebody has contravened a valid order of court? What is your business in arresting the person? Why don't you just go and report to that court that he has shown that contempt proceedings can be initiated against the person? Why are you? Because what the police is doing is they are resorting to self-help.
And that's exactly what it displayed
because
yesterday.
The ego of the Inspector General of Police has been bruised. Because you know, Sowore has been very critical of him. The man is not taking it part. If you see what happened here, it was personal. What happened here was personal.
That there is no rule of law in Nigeria. There is no rule of law in Nigeria. You got him arrested, you subject yourself to court, and the court has now accepted them. And the court will now grant them bail condition, grant them their bail, and said, pending when they will meet up with their bail condition, they should be in with a.
Now, staying in the court, the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, has failed to open his defense in his ongoing alleged terrorism trial before a federal high court in Abuja. Kanu said he could not open his defense because he has not been handed the case file to enable him to familiarize himself with the content to enable him adequately prepare for his defense. Following his inability to commence his defense on Thursday after the withdrawal of his team of lawyers led by former Attorney General of the Federation, Kanu Agabi, Kanu prayed the court to grant him a short adjournment till the next day. At the resumed hearing on Friday, Kanu prayed the court for an adjournment till Monday, October 27, to enable him to access the case file and familiarize himself with its content. Meanwhile, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory Authority, Nyesom Wike, has stated that he will appear as a witness in the ongoing trial of the detained leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, if subpoenaed by the court. Wike stated this during his monthly media chat on Friday when asked about being named by Kanu as a witness. The minister's remarks follow a motion filed by Kanu at the Federal High Court in Abuja on Tuesday, informing the court that he would open his defense on Friday, October 24, 2027. He also berated PDP governors for being responsible for the internal crisis, weakening the party and leading to defections. He warned that they would end up, quote, burying the party if they continue without consultations.
Who choose me there? You should ask him the question. But if I am invited, if I'm supposed to come, go home and sleep. I will be there.
Just a moment, though. Are you a little curious as to, I don't know whether why you've been listed? And
have I not said before now that the booby trap you are setting will consume you? Have I not told you before now? The way these present governors are doing, they will bury this party. Have I not said before now that as opposition, we don't need to add with impunity? Look, I'm an FCT minister, for Christ's sake. Forget about whatever you think. Are you telling me, as it is today, because I'm not a governor, you will go and hold PDP meeting, you call them stakeholders, and then you exclude me, and then you want to survive? No, okay, assuming I'm not even the FCT minister, by the role I've played in PDP till now, simply because I'm not a governor, I cannot be consulted in taking the decision of the party.
So now, as promised, let's go back to our top story on the military reshuffle. We understand retired Commander Awal Aliyu is still in transit. Now I'm joined by security expert and former assistant director of the DSS, Dennis Samakri. Thank you very much, sir, for joining me 2 nights in a row. It's always a pleasure to have you on tonight, in any case. Thank you, sir.
Very much, yes.
Dr. Makri, President Tinubu's decision to replace all service chiefs comes amid, there's rising insecurity. You and I spoke about this just only yesterday about Ondo and Kogi. There's insurgents activities, there's northeast, there's banditry, there's kidnappings everywhere in the northwest and central regions as well, like we discussed. Now, many see this as a reset moment for the armed forces, but from your experience, do such changes at the top truly translate to better result on the ground?
I think it's a better result because regular changes, of the service chiefs always bring better results, because the new people that are coming in with new ideas. They are fresh, you know, they have fresh perspective to do the job. And then, of course, they want to impress the commander-in-chief. So I think, these regular changes is very good. Even for those who are in the war front, it's better to change them regularly so that they don't get very bored.
But Dr. Makri, regular changes bring transition problems, whether in governance or in this case in security. So how are they going to manage these transition problems as they come, especially at a time where we have heightened insecurity in the country?
Yes, transition problem might occur, but remember, these people have always been in the service. You know, especially General Oluyode, who is now the Chief of Defense Staff, has been very, very active in joint operations and counter-terrorism activities before he became the Chief of Army. So I think it's a familiar terrain for him, and I think this is an opportunity for him to at least show the things that he might want to change, being the guy on top at this time.
Also, Dr. Makri, the new Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, and his team, well, they're expected to strengthen Nigeria's security architecture. But when we look at it, they still face the same military structure, resource shortages. I mean, they're overstretched across multiple fronts. So one has to ask, what kind of structural or welfare reforms must accompany these appointments for them to succeed?
Like I said earlier, you know, the environment, the fighting environment has changed. The war front has changed. And of course, it's not a stranger to what has been happening. So I think it depends on him now to even advise the commander-in-chief, you know, that this is how we should do it, or should we change tactics? And I think that with the other service chiefs, they will sit down and re-strategize and come up with better things to do. I just hope that the commander-in-chief, president and commander-in-chief will give them key performance indices to keep to, because they should be held accountable. It is not just an open check. They are there now, and they should be able to do what is required of them.
Now, each shake-up in the military hierarchy can either inspire renewed discipline, like you've said, or maybe even create short-term uncertainty. Veterans often have deep insight into how troops react to such changes. So from your experience, you know, in active service, with active service members and also veterans, how are these new appointments, what do you think, how are these new appointments being received within the ranks? Do you sense renewed optimism or maybe just cautious wait and see?
Oh, definitely. Any change will bring renewed optimism, and the new service chiefs will need some time, of course, to settle into their new roles and develop effective strategies to address the country's complex security issues. So I think right now it's just like somebody who's just gaining admission into the university. You know, you have this enthusiasm to go in there and conquer the world. So let's see what happens. I'm very, very sure they are also aware that this thing has been going on for more than a decade. You know, for them to be on top at this time, I think they have to drop a legacy by doing what is required to end this particular, you know, insurgency.
Dr. Makri, thank you very much. I'm being told that we have used up our allotted time for this conversation, but as always, it's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Coming up tonight, Nigeria marks World Polio Day as WHO says Africa nears disease-free status. We'll bring you the details of this story and more after the break. Do stay with us. Now, the World Health Organization has hailed Africa's remarkable progress as the world marks World Polio Day 2025. In a message to commemorate the day, WHO Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Mohamed Janabi, said this year's theme, End Polio, Every Child, Every Vaccine, Everywhere, reflects a renewed determination to ensure that no child is left unprotected, regardless of geography or circumstance. According to Janabi, Africa's success in 2025 has been powered by stronger cross-border coordination, expanded surveillance, and the deployment of cutting-edge digital tools that have enhanced efficiency, accountability, and reach. Now let's turn to Lizzie Asamura, President Rotary Club of Abuja, to speak to the disease and what Nigeria can do to beat it to zero. Liz, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's good to have you here. Grand. Now,
thank you for having me.
Good. So Africa has vaccinated nearly 200 million children this year alone. That's a very big feat, according to the WHO. An incredible feat given the security challenges and also logistic challenges across the continent. From your field of experience, however, what makes reaching that last child, like this year's theme is saying, what makes it difficult? What kind of community strategies have proven most effective in breaking through?
Thank you for having me again. As you know, today is World Polio Day, and the theme for the year is finishing the job, our legacy for a polio-free world. And I can tell you that Rotary International is making incredible work all over the world to make sure polio is at zero. And this polio can actually be avoided because it's a highly infectious viral disease that leads to permanent paralysis. It can cause flu-like symptoms such as fever, fatigue, headache, vomiting, and even a sore throat. And it can also cause neck fitness pain, and the rest of them. And it can be avoided if mothers can immunize their child. Polio has no cure, but polio can be avoided. A syrup must be taken to make the world a polio-free day.
Okay, well, Liz
has done incredibly well to make sure that polio is at zero. And we have not really recorded a case recently. For now, I would say polio is 99% in Nigeria. For what we have now, countries we have now with polio, just Afghanistan and Pakistan. But for Nigeria, with the help of Rotary International, polio is almost come to an end.
99% eradicated in Nigeria, like you said, but there's that 1%, and this year's theme says reaching that zero level. What are the strategies that have proven useful?
Okay, the strategy we have done so far is that we have a week-long activities to mark the World Polio Day. We went for immunization yesterday at the 6 area councils, where we have our team of medical doctors, creating awareness, advocacy, and telling them the importance for every child to be immunized for us to have a polio-free day. Rotary is made up of professionals, so those in the medical field led by the district polio chair in District 9127 Abuja, who is also a medical practitioner. She led her team with the district governor, Dame Joy Okoro, to 6 area councils to make sure that every child is immunized. And to tell you, this year, the case is different because it's no longer the situation where some northern people and some people in the country reluctantly do not come out to immunize their child. But now, no parent wants to have a deformed child. So the turnout was huge, and we were able to immunize a lot of children in the 6 area council in every city.
Liz, indeed, this year the case is very different, especially in the north. We have security challenges, and I'm wondering how humanitarian workers can be better protected, to face the challenges of not just insecurity, but also logistics in these environments while they're still keeping immunization campaigns consistent.
Oh, yes, there is security challenge, but I can assure you that polio has presence in over 140 countries. And in Nigeria, in every location, there is a particular Rotary club to cover within that style. So, security situation is a problem, but polio has presence in every community. I represent people within the ASO Drive. We have in Maitama, we have in all the areas. So the people close will go to the one close to them just to immunize children and to make sure that the message is being passed to take a vaccine and to create a polio-free world and polio-free country.
There's still talk about vaccine-derived polio virus in a few areas, and I'm wondering what should humanitarian organizations be doing now to prevent a resurgence, especially in places where health services are weak on trust. And trust in Nigeria is something that it took a while for Nigerians to trust vaccinations. So what's your response to that?
Okay, in Rotary, we have what we call Rotary Foundation Fund. So it's from there that we mop up funds to make sure that the vaccine are being made available to all the areas and to all the communities and all the villages. It is being made available for them to take to have a polio-free country.
Okay. Now, Liz, how important are these innovations that we see when it comes to vaccinating that one last child when you compare it to simple community-based approaches like trust building and door-to-door campaigns?
Okay, now, as I told you, we have a week-long activities whereby we even have a golf tournament to raise funds and also create awareness. We did tennis, we were in the mosques, and we also went to the area council, which is the door-to-door campaign. All the 6 area councils in FCT were covered. No place was left behind, including Amak, including the city, from Abaji, Kwali, Lugbe, Buwari, and the city center. Everywhere was covered door-to-door to make sure that every child that needs to be immunized, of course, polio happens to children from 5 years and below. So this door-to-door campaign, using the local chiefs in the communities to make sure that everybody comes out to take a vaccine, has actually helped, and which has been a start project of Rotary International to make sure there's the polio-free country. There's still a measles case in United States of America. We feel that measles has gone, but now there are still recording cases of measles. Yes, Nigeria, we can say it's gone, but even in Western world, like United States of America, there is still measles because that 1% was left unattended to, and it keeps to spread. People keep contaminating. Of course, this disease is spread so fast. That's why the 1% must be fought.
So do you think these new innovative methods are going to help get that 1% then?
Sure.
So Liz, what's the message? What's the message that you would give to parents or caregivers today, especially those in rural areas or underserved areas, about why routine vaccination still matters to eradicate that 1%?
The message I will leave is vaccination protects against both white polio virus and vaccine-derived polio virus. Everyone needs to be vaccinated because if a child is affected, it can spread all over. Remember, this is an infection disease that can lead to permanent paralysis, and also it can be contacted through poor sanitation, through bad water, and even through food. So washing hands, as we did in COVID-19, is still very important. People in the rural areas, wash your hands, keep healthy hygiene, avoid poor sanitation so that this disease can stop spreading. The 1% can be eradicated totally.
Well, thank you very much, Liz, and we hope that that happens. We would like to see a world, Nigeria, where we have 0 polio cases. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Still ahead tonight, Cameroon experiences internet blackout as voters await election results. Stay with us, we have the details. Welcome back. Now let's go outside Nigeria. Internet access across Cameroon has been severely disrupted as tensions escalate over the disputed presidential election. Internet monitor NetBlocks confirms a major ongoing outage likely to limit coverage of events on the ground. The blackout follows the Constitutional Council's dismissal of all petitions contesting the October 12 vote, paving the way for final results now expected Monday, October 27. Opposition supporters have poured into the streets alleging widespread fraud and result manipulation. In In the north, protests turned violent, leaving at least 2 people dead. In Tanzania, the mood is high as the country prepares for its general election. Early voting is expected to set on October 28, while the main election day is on October 29. President Samia Suluhu Hassan is seeking for a full term in this election after taking office following the death of her predecessor. The official electoral body for Zanzibar, the Zanzibar Electoral Commission, says all is ready, having over 717,000 ballot papers will have arrived and final logistics are in place. At the same time, opposition groups are voicing concerns about the early voting system, arguing it favors the ruling party and weakens the fairness of the poll. And Europe now, more than 20 nations supporting Ukraine have pledged to take Russian oil and gas off the global market as part of efforts to pressure President Vladimir Putin to end the war. The UK and US have, in recent days, sanctioned Russia's 2 biggest oil companies, while the EU targeted Moscow's liquefied natural gas exports. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who was also in London, says pressure on Russia was the only way to stop the fighting. However, no long-range missiles delivery to Ukraine were announced at the summit. Zelensky has long argued that US-made Tomahawks and European missiles would help make the war cost heavier for Moscow by hitting key military targets, including oil refineries and weapons depot deep inside Russia. But during last week's talks in Washington, US President Donald Trump indicated to Zelensky that he was not ready to supply Tomahawks. Now, Alexander von Jürgen is a global policy analyst. He joins me now to share his view on the development in Europe. Alexander, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Now, the UK has just approved a £2.26 billion loan for Ukraine. And what's unique is that it will be backed by money from frozen Russian assets. What message does that send to Russia? And could this become a new model for how the world deals with countries that invade others?
Well, this model has been around for a while. The U.S. has imposed sanctions, not necessarily for an invasion, sometimes for an invasion. They did it when Iraq invaded Kuwait in the first Gulf War. Venezuela, Iran, Cuba, Venezuela have all been forced under sanctions, as well as the DRC in Africa. Sometimes they're effective. Sometimes they're not so effective. It depends on the resilience of the sanctioned party or their stubbornness to comply. But they're there for a reason. It's to send a message. It's to put pressure on them. And that's what I think Starmer is trying to do in following suit. Keep in mind, he's giving Russian money to Ukraine.
Alexander, I hope we still have you. I'm going to go ahead and fire my next question. I'm hoping that you're still with us. So let's talk about the US and Europe support now. Now, some analysts say Starmer's meeting with Zelensky shows Europe is trying to fill the gap as the US grows less predictable about its support. So I'm wondering what you think. Do you think that Europe is really ready to take the lead on Ukraine's defense? Or is it still relying on Washington's direction behind the scenes? Unfortunately, we have lost that connection with Alexander. Perhaps we'll bring him on later. Tonight returns with business, sports, and entertainment. Do stay with us.
Is brought to you by MoneyPoint.
President Bola Tinubu has welcomed the delisting of Nigeria from the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force, describing the development as a clear demonstration of the country's commitment to global financial transparency. The Financial Action Task Force has officially removed Nigeria from its grey list, citing significant progress in strengthening anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financial systems. The decision announced after a plenary meeting in Paris also saw South Africa, Mozambique and Burkina Faso delisted. A Nigerian delegation led by Justice Minister Lateef Fagbemi and Finance Minister Wale Edun attended the announcement. The Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit implemented a 19-point action plan developed with FATF and GIABA. President Bola Tinubu hailed the move as a new chapter for Nigeria's financial reforms, reaffirming his administration's commitment to transparency and global financial integrity. Tax administrators across Africa have pledged to strengthen measures for taxing high net worth individuals to boost domestic revenue mobilization. The resolution came at a workshop in Entebbe, Uganda, organized by the African Tax Administration Forum and the International Center for Tax and Development. ATAF Executive Secretary Mary Bain and NAMRA Commissioner Sam Shivute urged decisive leadership and innovation in enforcing tax compliance. Participants highlighted challenges including poor data integration and weak administrative systems. The workshop produced actionable recommendations to update the ATAF guide and taxing HNWIs, advancing fairness, transparency, and fiscal sustainability across Africa's taxation systems. We'll take a short break, and when we get back, we'll be looking into the stock market report for today. You're welcome back. Let's take a look at the stock market report for today. Once again, the bulls took charge of the Nigerian exchange today, lifting the all-share index by 0.75% to close at 155,645.05 points, while the market capped out at 98.79 trillion naira. Now let's see what's happening on the sectoral performance. Today, investors hunted for value in select blue chips as oil and gas stocks lit up the board with a 2.96% advance, and closing also in the green was insurance at 1.01%. Consumer goods also closed in the green, advancing by 0.95%, and industrial goods stood strong at 1.18%. Unfortunately, banking took a hard hit as it closed at 0.56%. Overall, investors seem to favor the heavyweights, proving once again that when energy names move, the market follows. Either way, the market's rhythm remains lively, and the bulls for now are still calling the tune. That's all on Business Tonight. My name is Chamun Dabeng. Stay tuned as Udoka brings you the sports news.
This segment is brought to you by MoneyPoint.
In sports, Nigeria Super Falcons began their Women's Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against the Benin Republic with a 2-0 win in Lomé, Togo. The 10-time African champions were in control from start to finish, with both goals coming in the first half of the encounter. Chiwendu Ihezio opened the scoring early in the game, finishing off a clever assist from midfielder Deborah Abiodun. Esther Okoronkwo then doubled Nigeria's lead before halftime, once again benefiting from Abiodun's vision and the precision in midfield. Veteran defender Osinachi Ohale earned her 80th cap, while Taiwo Afolabi made her Super Falcons debut. The Falcons carry a 2-goal advantage into the return leg scheduled for Tuesday next week at the MOO Sports Arena in Abeokuta. Egypt is set to host the 2025 CAF Women's Champions League playoffs from November 8th to the 21st, following an official confirmation from the Confederation of African Football. According to reports, the cities of Cairo and Ismailia are expected to stage the matches. The qualified teams are defending champions TP Mazembe from the DRC, USFES Bamako of Mali. There's also Gaborone United of Botswana, ASEC Mimosas of Ivory Coast, ASFA of Morocco, JKT Queens of Tanzania, 15 de Agosto from Equatorial Guinea, and FC Marseille from Egypt. The group stage draws will hold on Monday, the 27th of October. Now, former Liverpool manager Rafael Benitez has been appointed Panathinaikos boss. The 65-year-old takes over the job at the 20-time Greek champions from Christos Contis, with the Athens club in 7th place in the league table. Benitez was dismissed from his last coaching role with Celta Vigo in Spain in March 2024. He led Liverpool to the 2005 Champions League title and Valencia to 2 La Liga titles. He has also had spells with Real Madrid, Inter Milan, Napoli, and Premier League sides Chelsea, Newcastle, and Everton, as well as 18 months at Chinese Super League club Dalian Pro. Benitez's first game in charge will be Sunday's league fixture at home to Asteras Actor. Now, French biathlete Julia Simon was found guilty of thefts and credit card fraud and handed a 3-month suspended prison sentence by French courts on Friday. Simon was accused of repeatedly using the bank card of our French teammate Justin Brazy-Boucher and that of a French team staff member to make online purchases totaling more than £1,371. The ruling leaves a question mark over Simon's participation at next year's Winter Olympics in Milan and Cortina d'Ampezzo in Italy. The French Ski Federation has said its disciplinary commission would meet as soon as possible to determine any action at the federation level.
Je pense que cette histoire, il fallait qu'elle aille au bout. Nous, on va reprovoquer une commission de discipline. Comme vous le savez, il y a eu un sursis à statuer, ça fait partie de nos obligations. Une commission de discipline qui est indépendante, je le rappelle. Et puis, nous, on va s'attacher à faire en sorte que tous les athlètes, je dis bien tous les athlètes, soient bien encadrés par les équipes. On continue à essayer de les accompagner au mieux pour qu'ils réalisent leurs rêves, leurs objectifs sportifs. Les Jeux de Milan, évidemment, sont l'un des événements majeurs tous les 4 ans, les Jeux Olympiques, et on va faire en sorte que tout le monde puisse s'exprimer de la meilleure des manières pendant cette période-là.
Même quelqu'un condamné à 3 mois de prison avec sursis, du coup.
Je vous dis, on s'attachera à faire en sorte que tout le monde puisse être performant aux Jeux Olympiques de Milan.
And that's all on Sport Updates. I am Udoka Njoku. Entertainment is up next with Kate.
It's now time for entertainment. She needs no introduction. Kate is here with entertainment. Well,
yes,
so Kate,
I am.
what's happening today?
How are you doing?
I'm good.
All right. Big moments for Afrobeat and Nigerian culture as former U.S. President Barack Obama has paid tribute to legendary musician Fela Kuti in a podcast series, Fela Kuti, Fear No Man. Obama described Fela as a musical genius from Nigeria whose blend of funk, jazz, and soul created the world-renowned Afrobeat genre. Now, the podcast spotlights Fela's role not just as an artist, but as an activist. His music challenged oppression in Nigeria, and now the world is listening. The 12-episode series digs into Fela's legacy, his explosive shows at the Shrine in Lagos, the activism that saw him arrested over 100 times, and his influence on global music. Mazino, what's your take on this one?
It's about time Obama spoke about Fela. He's spoken about everybody else from before. Every year there's a list that comes out where he puts up music he's listening to. And I was asking, where's Fela here?
Yeah.
But it's about time. I'm glad. I'm happy.
Amazing stuff. Love that. Now, Grammy-winning songstress Toni Braxton is back on the road, and this time she's doing it big. She's joining forces with R&B legends New Edition and Boyz II Men for the New Edition Way Tour, set to kick off January 28, 2026 in Oakland, California. The 3 acts are in opening for each other. They'll share the stage in one collaborative R&B experience that spans 30 cities across North America. Now, why this matters? Toni Braxton has been defining R&B for 30-plus years with hits like Unbreak My Heart and You're Making Me High. And joining these group icons underscores her status as a cross-generational star. Now, with New Edition's legacy and Boyz II Men's vocal mastery in the mix, this is not just nostalgia. It's a moment for younger fans to witness the architect of modern R&B live. Interesting times, really. But that ends it on entertainment for tonight. My name is Kate Adeogun.
Finally, on tonight, family, friends, and well-wishers gathered at the Cathedral Church of Christ in Marina, Lagos, to celebrate a life of faith, service, and leadership of Sir Olubolaga Ajayi, who turned 60. Placida Igwe has more here.
For Sir Olugbolaga Ajayi, turning 60 is more than a milestone. It's a moment of reflection and renewed purpose. The Thanksgiving Mass was filled with hymns, prayers, and gratitude. A cross of those in attendance describe him as a pillar of strength, faith, and integrity.
From a very small village of Ayegunle Ekiti, you imprinted your name in the sand of time. Whether anyone likes it or not, Olugbolaga Ajayi is a name to be reckoned with.
Sir Bolaga Ajayi is blessed, is favored, is a supporter, is the best person you can have in your corner. He's a fantastic human being.
Perfect gentleman, he's been very unassuming, very easygoing, and that's, in a nutshell, he's a good man.
He's more than everything to us, and he's somebody that everyone, rather, would desire to have as a brother.
The legacy my father left behind, he took over, and he's doing well. I saw many people today, my nephew, my nieces, distant families. I saw that I've seen for a long time because of who he is. They all came to honor him. He's a great man. He's a good person. We are proud to call him our brother.
You must be a reference point.
Surrounded by loved ones and colleagues, the celebrant expresses gratitude, saying the service reminds all that life's true measure lies not only in years, but impact.
There is no attainment, achievement, or ambition that is better and greater than to serve God with dedication. That's what I've been doing all through the time I'm aware of myself. And therefore, my quest and task is to serve God better, to be closer to Him, and to be also closer to serving humanity. Because the entirety of what we do in life is about what we render as service unto God and to humanity.
Finally, Olugbolaga.
For many in attendance, they say it is a celebration of legacy, one built on faith, service, and kindness. A life lived in service to others is a life truly well spent, one that continues to inspire.
And that's the news tonight. But before we go, here's a reminder of our top stories from before. President Bola Tinubu appoints new service chiefs, replaces Chief of Defense Staff amid rising insecurity in Nigeria. And moments after court grants him bail alongside 12 others, police rearrest rights activist Omoyele Sowore. We're also told UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer hosts President Zelensky as Ukraine allies pledge to take Russian oil and gas off global market. Remember to send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screens now. And follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV on all platforms. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Go TV channel 23, Star Times 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.